The TIE Fighter is ready for today's game, and that game is Star Wars Return of the Jedi Death Star Battle for your Atari 2600, which might be the longest official name of any 2600 game. Let's go ahead and take Star Wars Return of the Jedi Death Star Battle, pop it in my Atari 7800 Pro system, and see how it holds up today. Let's go to the game. Star Wars Return of the Jedi Death Star Battle was published by Parker Brothers and carries the copyright year of 1983, the same year that the movie came out. It was programmed in part by Todd Marshall, who would later program Q*bert's Cubes for the 2600. Death Star Battle is a two-screen space action game for one player only, despite the fact that the box mentions that two players can play. According to the manual, your ultimate goal is to destroy the sinister Death Star before the Empire completes its construction, but reaching this powerful space station won't be easy. First, shoot down a relentless swarm of TIE interceptors as they pursue your ship, the Millennium Falcon, across the galaxy. Then, with split-second timing, slip through one of the random openings in the Death Star's energy shield. Blast as much of the space station away with your lasers as possible while avoiding the destructive heat-seeking death ray. Then, one quick shot to the Death Star's energy core and pow! The Death Star turns into an incredible burning mass, bursting into hundreds of blazing fireballs. And the heat's not off until you escape their fury. But if you do, then you're ready for another round with the infamous Death Star. The game has two game selections. Game number 1 is a beginner difficulty and game number 2 is advanced difficulty. The difficulty switches also come into play. For the left difficulty switch, when it's in the B position, your ship will not collide with the TIE interceptors, but it will in the A position. For the right difficulty switch, when it's in the B position, the death ray will only move from one side of the Death Star to the other, but when it's in the A position, it will move across the entire screen. One interesting aspect of the game is that it has a pause feature that is activated by hitting the select button while in play. Moving the joystick or pressing the fire button will unpause the game. For the game, you move the joystick to fly and press the button to fire. If you fire a second shot, your first shot will disappear off the screen, so repeatedly shooting will cause your shots not to travel very far, but rather stay close to your ship. You are confined to the bottom 40% of the screen, but you can wrap around the screen at either side. In addition to TIE fighters, an Imperial shuttle will show up from time to time. You can destroy it for massive bonus points by shooting its upper body. On the first screen, you must shoot TIE fighters until holes begin opening in the energy field above. Your goal is to fly through one of them, but beware of the thin energy band that constantly appears and disappears. Touching it is fatal. Once you fly through a hole, you will automatically enter hyperspace, flying to the second screen. On the second screen, you will chip away at the Death Star while avoiding enemies and the Death Ray, which appears on the first screen when the difficulty increases. During this time, the Death Star is continually being rebuilt. Your goal is to hit the blinking energy core in the middle, destroying the Death Star. Once you do, it will explode, sending out fireballs for you to avoid. After this screen, you return to the first screen. Scoring-wise, you get 50 points per TIE fighter destroyed, 3,000 points if you destroy an Imperial shuttle, 20 points for every chunk of the Death Star you destroy, and bonus points based on how long you outlast the Death Star explosion. At 10,000 points, you gain an extra ship and the difficulty increases. You also gain an extra ship if you destroy every piece of the Death Star according to the manual, but this is a tedious process to undertake. Graphically speaking, I think the game looks great for a 2600 title with nice looking ships, Death Star energy barrier, and the hyperspace. Sound and music wise, while okay, in my opinion it doesn't live up to The Empire Strikes Back and is missing the Star Wars theme badly. Family friendly wise, this is a standard space action game that most likely would get an E for everyone rating if released today. At the time of my research on eBay, including shipping, loose copies were going for $9 to $17 and complete copies were selling for $31 to $45. So what did I think of Death Star Battle? Honestly, I was a bit let down for a couple reasons. For one thing, it feels like the difficulty increases in too big of steps. I also don't like the fact how your first shot disappears when a second shot is fired. It led to many times where I was waiting to find out if a shot would hit far away and I couldn't do anything until it did or it missed. Also, there were times where I thought I hit the core of the Death Star but did not, so hitting the core can be more difficult than it should be. But my biggest issue is how small of an area you have to move in. It just feels really cramped. I think the game could have used a little more room, perhaps at least 2/3 of the screen to move in. And it's a shame too because the game controls well and looks great, but the small playfield led me to not enjoying it that much. So where am I going to rank Death Star Battle? Somewhere around the 100s. I'm looking at a game I recently reviewed, King Kong, at the 104 position. And I'm thinking I like Death Star Battle a little bit more. So out of the 145 games I've now ranked on the 2600, Death Star Battle is hyperspacing into the 104 position. Star Wars Return of the Jedi Death Star Battle looks nice, but it isn't nearly as fun as it looks. At least that's what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Also, please click like and subscribe. Follow me both on the Facebook and the Twitter. And I'm also a member of the Retro Junkies Network. At this time, I'd like to thank the extraordinary Jedi Sean from the Atari 7800 Homebrew Podcast for supporting the show through Patreon. Thanks, Sean. If you appreciate the work I do, please consider joining the League of Extraordinary Patreon Supporters by signing up at patreon.com/NoSwearGamer. Thank you for giving me a little part of your day, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the next episode of the No Swear Gamer. Take care and watch out for thin lines.